with Jack Canfield. Thanks so much for coming on.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it. Very excited about this. I read the book, The Success Principles, how to get from where you are to where you want to be, I think 8 years ago, a couple years after it came out. And now it's in the 10-year anniversary. It's incredible. How many copies have you sold so far in this book?
I think in the first book, we're just under 1 million copies in America, and around the world, probably, we're in 27 languages, so somewhere over 1 million plus.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But it's small time compared to Chicken Soup for the Soul, right? You sold like
hundreds
of millions.
Chicken Soup for the Soul has sold 500 million copies.
My goodness.
That's 500 million copies.
Let's go into some of the principles, the fundamentals of success.
Sure.
And I think you talk about being clear as one of
Yes.
the first things, and having a clear vision,
Right.
Because if you can't be successful without a vision and being clear.
Well, you have to first take 100% responsibility for your life, give up being a victim, then you have to get clear about what is my purpose. I believe each person has a purpose they were born with, whether it's to be a mechanic or a chef or to be a doctor or to do what we do, which is empower and enlighten people through the work we do. And so once you've got that, you have to have a clear vision of what would you like your life to look like, both in the business world, in your social world, in your relationships, your health and fitness, your travel and fun, all of that. So we have 7 areas of your life which we say, let's pretend that you could have anything you want, no holds barred. You know, God comes down and says, you're chosen, you won the lottery, you get the life you want, what would you do? And you go, oh, I'd like to live in this house in Malibu, I'd like to live on the ocean, I want to have 3 kids, I want to be able to travel to Europe 5 times a year, you know, whatever it is, write it down. And then using things like visualization and affirmations, you can start turbocharging that vision with intention, and then some of the tools that come out of the law of attraction work and so forth. But you first have to know where you're going. I liken it to a GPS system in a car. Here we are in Santa Barbara. You live in LA somewhere.
Windy roads to get back here.
Yeah, but if you have a GPS and it says 929 Via Fruteria or whatever, your GPS system will tell you how to get there. Now, when you left LA, you did not know exactly where you were going. You just trusted a GPS to say turn left, turn right, turn left. Your subconscious mind works the exact same way. It is a programmable GPS system that will figure out the path if you program it correctly, which is putting in a vision of the destination. That's all you have to do.
Interesting. But a lot of people feel a lot of fear because they're of the unknown of what's going to happen, or that they might fail if they have a big dream, right? So what is fear to you, and how does someone overcome that fear?
Well, here's the deal. You know, basically fear is, I love this word, the guy who wrote the book, Dune, said fear is the mind killer. Fear takes you back into the amygdala, which is in the limbic system of your brain. You want to be in the prefrontal cortex, which is where the executive functions, where spiritual insights, where wisdom occurs, where rational, logical thinking occurs. So basically, as soon as I get into fear, I go back into this primal fight or flight or freeze place. And so I want to be up here. So, you know, basically, we now have technology called EFT tapping. I'm sure you're familiar with it. Nick Ordner and all those guys. And literally 9 acupuncture points, you tap on those in a sequence for maybe 5 minutes, 7 minutes, and the fear disappears. It literally dissolves. There's absolutely no reason for anyone to be in fear. Now, the value of setting a goal is to watch all these fears come up. I refer to it as a, you ever play the game Whack-A-Mole at the mall? You get the heads come, you got to whack them before they go back down. So we want to surface those fears so we can whack them using EFT and other technologies that are out there, neuro-linguistic programming and so forth. But now we have this science that just literally you don't have to be stopped. The other thing, a friend of mine just wrote a book called the Fear Cure, or The Cure for Fear, one of those. And she talked about one of the biggest fears is of the unknown and uncertainty of the future. But everything's uncertain. You know, we're trying to create certainty in an uncertain world, and stop being afraid of uncertainty. Uncertainty is what's exciting. Right. If you go to Africa on a vacation, a safari, you have no idea what's going to happen. That's part of the adventure.
It's fun.
That's part of the fun, exactly.
If you knew, oh, there's going to be a zebra that pops out right here, or this is going to be next, it might get boring, right?
Or if you go river rafting, you don't know where the rapids are and how you're going to do it. And if you go surfing, you don't know exactly how the wave's going to break and all that, and how big it's going to be. And so that adventure is really what life's about. And so we need to be excited. Fear is created by imagining bad things that haven't happened yet. So fantasized experiences appearing real, everyone always says that. Someone else recently said, forget everything and run. But, but I think that if you realize that you're creating your own fear by imagining a bad thing, oh, if there's a recession, I'll lose my house. Why not go, if there was a recession, I'm going to make more money because there's going to be opportunities and we're going to be able to pay our house off faster. Zig Ziglar said, worrying is negative goal setting. And all you have to do is use that same power to think and visualize to create a positive outcome instead of a negative, and then the fear disappears.
Yeah, and a quote of yours, I believe is in the book, is you say, everything you want is on the other side of fear.
Absolutely. You know, we all live in our comfort zone. We want to be comfortable.
One of the other principles you talk about is how to transform yourself for success. So tell me about the people we surround ourselves with, and how do people influence us in a positive way of achieving our goals or keeping us back into victim mode?
I don't know if your parents ever said this to you, but mine did. They always said, I don't want you hanging out with those kids. They're a bad influence.
Sure,
right?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. So that doesn't stop when you're 18, right? You know? So there are certain people who are negative, curmudgeonly, you know, whiners, complainers, and blamers, that if you hang out with them, that's who you become.
Yeah.
And you look at any bar, all bars have a personality to them. You know, there's bars on Lower State Street in Santa Barbara here where the lower economic class hangs out and they just bitch and moan about how bad everything is.
Right.
There's bars further up the street where the people that are more successful hang out and they're just doing deals and talking about all the great things that happened that day.
Having fun.
Having fun, they're networking and brainstorming with each other, introducing each other to opportunities. So basically, you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yeah.
Like I remember Mark asked this one guy who owns Evergreen Airlines to if he could give him an idea that he thought might work for him. And he said, well, if I take it, how much money do you think I might make? He says, oh, a couple million. He says, Mark, I can't even consider an idea that won't make me $100 million.
Oh my gosh.
It's just below my threshold to play.
Yeah.
You know, so now most of us, that's a very rarefied atmosphere. Most people listening to this aren't there. But just to give you an example, there's a friend of mine who, now a friend, just died recently, but I didn't know him at the time. His name was Lou Tice, and he ran the Pacific Institute and teaches a lot of stuff we do. And he was making, again, like, you know, a lot of money, and he was, his clients included the Navy, you know, the government of Denmark, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And I said, I want to learn what he's doing. He's playing at a bigger level than I am. So I called him up, and I said to him, Lou, if you're ever in LA, this was when I was in my 30s, I said, could I be your chauffeur?
Oh,
don't hire a limo. Let
cool.
me chauffeur you for free. All I ask is I can pump you with questions for the 20, 30 minutes an hour.
Sure, sure.
He said, sure. So about 3 months later, I get a call. He says, hi, I'm coming to LA. Going to do a talk at a country club. Pick me up at LAX, take me to the hotel, take me to the country club, back again. So I did. And I peppered him with like, what'd you do? How'd you do this? How'd you do that? And he told me. So about a year later, we both bid for a contract. It was $875,000 contract to educate people on welfare in California based on these success principles to get them off welfare. And we were the final 2 competitors, Pacific Institute, and we won.
Oh, wow.
And so he was very gracious. He sent me a nice note. He said, you're a good student.
That's great. In the transform yourself for success part, you talk about completing the past and embrace the future. What do you mean by that, completing the past?
Well, we all have a lot of past experiences that we haven't let go of. Usually we're carrying resentment or guilt and anger, irritation, whatever. And so in order to be free to move forward, think of it like this. Imagine if you were walking down the beach and you had a belt around you and behind that was like 17 anchors and you're trying to walk down the beach pulling all these anchors. We want to cut those cords.
I believe that the key to success is relationships and being an effective communicator and learning how to develop relationships with every personality type. Learning how to meet people where they're at, not just where you're at and what you want, but really connecting and understanding where their come from is.
Yes.
You talk about learning how to speak with impeccability. Can you talk about that?
Yes, this is actually a concept taken from Don Miguel Ruiz, who wrote the book, The 4 Agreements, who's actually become a friend of mine over the last couple of years. And speaking with impeccability means you don't put yourself down, for starters, and you don't put anyone else down. You don't gossip. You don't spread rumors. You don't be sarcastic, because sarcasm is veiled anger. And so basically it's like speaking from a place of integrity and a place of love and a place where all my words are intended to uplift myself, for starters, so no negative self-talk. Replace that with positive self-talk, and then to uplift in the environment. Well, we've actually seen studies done where when somebody yells at themselves, you know, gosh darn it, why are you so stupid, Jack? You know, I can't find my keys, kind of thing. It actually affects the brain in a negative way. It actually creates a vibration that almost, I won't say it destroys brain cells, but John Assaraf in a recent video he put on actually showed some brain cells dying when people were thinking negative thoughts.
No way.
Yeah, that's some of the new neuroscience out there. But more interestingly, Dr. Masaru Emoto, who did all this work with water, He actually
Yeah, I've seen that. Where they put the negative words on.
Yeah, puts negative words on the bottle. But his first experiment was to put a bottle of water, like, you know, a little Avion bottle of water on a thing, have all of his students send negative energy. I hate you, you're stupid, you're a fool. Took that water, froze it in little Petri dishes, bring it out, stick it under a microscope with a camera on top, and as the water starts to melt, I mean the crystal starts to melt, it forms these big ugly black blobs. Take the same kind of water, another bottle on a different day, send positive energy to the water, freeze it, put it under the Petri dish when it's melting, forms beautiful snow crystals. So we know that two things were fascinating. Water has memory, and 85% of your body is made up of water. Your brain is made up of even more water, higher percentage. So when you're saying negative things to yourself, you're affecting yourself in a physiological way. If you say, I am sick, you're actually creating sick in the future.
Oh my gosh.
See, a lot of people think when they're describing the present, they're well, I'm sick, you know. But the fact is, you're prescribing the future by describing the present as it is.